Chosen one. Hear me now, you are not here by accident. I have come to tell you with love and authority that your prophetic scroll is being unsealed in perfect Kairos timing. This very hour on heaven's clock was written for you before you took your first breath. You are standing at the edge of a destined moment, an ancient seal beginning to give way, a long-awaited unlocking that could unfold today, tonight, or within the coming hours and days. Do not mistake the seasons you walked through. Every delay, every pressure, every quiet ache was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not rejection or punishment. I proclaim that what looked like waiting was heaven's sacred pause, arranging your path for a glorious release. Listen, anointed one, the appointed hour is now. As it is declared in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, and as Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 whispers of seasons, this is your Kairos, fixed in heaven, urgent on earth. I call you to expect a reverence, to open your hands and your heart. Receive this invocation as a wakeful word. Heaven is moving, the seal is shifting, and your life is the vessel. My beloved, prepare to witness a transformation in body, spirit, and circumstance. The hour has come. Sili vibi ikalkavelk ligliksig, ivliptsig iblaviti ig, ligvalikvagigvilig, ig lakaligi klikvig vitili, ivilg bigblikigi bgitivigiklik, I itigigiklikik, itivivivigivikalititititit ibivigil kaljabili ilikil igi bilibigiklbkig, ikviklub kalsial igit iligiti, iti ivigtigil glbgbigvitil elbitil bibtigligigigik, I bigvital glitavlivi jigil kilt illigliti ilt igvigiv giggle liki iv kalbi ik igivil gibigil tik deal gibiglig til pilig tibigivilig blov itivil kil biligil bibig ibig tili illig bigig give ligi balbig big gib titigil blikbli iv big viligti igitigil dib kigbi vili ikilig il diglil albigil tili igil bigivig blikbigil tigi ili itigi illegal tigil bligil liv bi lib bigjilig ilbkigil baltitilkig ikvi ilibl vliglig ilbili kali ilbi ilibligiti bigili cti vigivigi plit giglibigil libiglig bibig ili tibi itigilgi iblig bi itivigligi vigvibilgili biki ilili ili cgb vil kcki kulkigi. Chosen one. The shift you sense is not merely outward, it is an inside-out rewriting. Heaven is unlocking chambers within you where destiny has been kept safe. I want you to understand with the clarity of someone who has been through the furnace and the harvest how to stand in this season so that what is coming will land in your hands and not slip through them. First, posture yourself as a steward, not a claimant. This is a transfer with strings of trust attached, not strings of control, but cords of responsibility. The moment blessing arrives, you will be tested to see whether you will keep it for yourself or let it flow through you to heal others. I have known the temptation to clutch when abundance first touched my life. I remember the night a check arrived that I had not expected. My first instinct was fear, not faith. That fear was a teaching pain had taught me to hold. Pain also prepared me to give. Whenever you feel the old clutching instinct, remember what felt like lack was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. Those seasons taught you generosity, humility, and wise discernment. Now listen for practical prophetic posture. Keep a tender ear to heaven. This Kairos moment will come with invitations, whispered impressions, doors that call your name, timing that feels too perfect to be accidental. Do not rush to say yes. Pause, pray. Test the sense in your spirit. Discernment will be your safeguard against counterfeit favor. The same world that will give you opportunity will try to seduce you with shortcuts. Your older inward scars are actually your filters now. The wounds you thought were wasting time are the gauges that will keep you from taking what is not yours to carry. Cultivate an atmosphere of gratitude and quiet worship. When I stood in the space between loss and increase, the most radical thing I did was simple gratitude. I began to thank God for the thing I had just lost and for the thing I had not yet seen. Gratitude shifted my atmosphere from scarcity to invitation. It tuned my spirit to recognize the first whisper of heaven's movement. Worship does not manufacture blessing, it clears the channel so blessing can flow without interference. Expect acceleration, but plan for humility. The Kairos moment moves fast. Opportunities will arrive in sequences so compressed, your mind will try to make sense of them by comparison, but don't allow speed to be an excuse for pride. When favor finds you, remember who steadied you in the dark. Stay teachable, stay accountable. I walk with people who hold me to truth. You will need companions who will pray for you and speak holiness into you when applause tempts you towards self-sufficiency. Watch for signs, but don't worship signs. A repetitive number on the clock, an unexpected message, a dream that feels like a directory. These are confirmations, not foundations. Your foundation is obedience and a heart that has been refined by seasons of apparent delay. I have received confirmations that felt like a chorus, each one a gentle nudge, and I learned to treat them as signals to move in faith, not as guarantees to attempt reckless leaps. You will be repositioned. My dear one, do not be surprised if relationships reroute and routines reorder. When the vault opens, the atmosphere around you changes to match your new weight. Some friendships will not follow you. Some opportunities will not fit the new calling. This is not rejection. It is recalibration. Where you once fit now feels tight because your assignment has gained mass. Release what must be released with a heart of gratitude for what it taught you. I once released a title that had defined me. In letting go, I made room for a calling that could not have entered while I was holding that old identity. Guard your mouth, speak with prophetic intentionality. Your words will carry speedier consequence now. What you declare in this hour will draft the architecture of your season. Speak life over your journey. I receive the unsealing. I steward with humility. I open my hands to flow. Say these things out loud. I taught myself to declare small prophetic sentences every morning, and I watched everyday moments fold to those words. Your speech is not magic, it is spiritual alignment. Use it as a tool to partner with heaven. Prepare financially and emotionally to be a channel. Increased resources will follow responsibility. Ask yourself now, how will you use what is coming? Will you rebuild only for yourself, or will you restore others? I learned a hard lesson about this when increase arrived, and I almost rebuilt only a life of comfort. God corrected me gently through conviction and a nudge to give. When I obeyed, doors widened in ways that would not have opened otherwise. Stewardship invites multiplication. Do not fear the enemy's mimicry. When heaven moves, there will be voices that sound like prophecy, but are counterfeit. Discernment will sift these. Hold fast to inner peace as your chief compass. If something stirs your anxiety more than your faith, step back and ask for clarity. Pressure that points to panic is not from heaven. Pressure that strengthens your resolve is the refining touch of ordination. Finally, rest in the reality that this is not about you alone. You are a vessel for a larger repair. The unsealing of your scroll releases healing wisdom and provision into communities, systems, and nations. I have watched one small obedience in my life ripple into unexpected restoration for others. Your yes will be a seed that grows far beyond the borders you imagine. Choose surrender over strategy tonight. Choose worship over worry. Open your hands and say, I receive. Breathe in the promise that your ceiling is shifting. This hour on heaven's clock is marking you for transfer. Stand ready, anointed one. My beloved, keep watch with a grateful heart and walk forward with holy humility. Chosen one, now let us go deeper. This hour is not merely external rearrangement. It is a refining of your inner landscape, so the outer blessing will have a place to settle. Hear me plainly, every ache you remember, every season that felt like delay, every pressure that made you bend, was preparation, protection, pruning alignment, not rejection or punishment. Those refining fires were shaping a vessel that could carry what heaven is about to entrust to you. Begin with your inner house. I have learned the hard way that promotion can expose what is hidden inside us. Years ago, when a sudden door opened for me, I found myself carrying unresolved anger and old fears into a new room. The favor that followed highlighted what I refused to face. I was humbled. I had to ask for help, confess the small pride I had kept, and allow trusted companions to speak truth over me. This season taught me that spiritual maturity is required to steward increase. So, chosen one, ask yourself what inside you needs light, what old wound needs soothing. Do not run from honest self-examination. It is how heaven secures what it releases. Create sacred rhythms. Heaven often meets us in routine, not just in spectacular moments. When I began to keep small, holy habits again, a 10-minute morning stillness, a night of thanksgiving, a short walk, while I prayed, I found clarity returned. Set rhythms that cultivate listening, a time of silence, a day for refuge, a habit of giving thanks before you check your phone. These rhythms are not legalism. They are channels that keep your heart tender and your ears sensitive to the whisper of the Spirit. Position yourself to receive instruction. When my life pivoted, I stopped assuming I already knew the path. I became a student again. I read, I asked mentors, I sat under correction. The Kairos hour favors teachability. The moment your scroll begins to unseal, be quick to learn and slow to argue. Receive counsel. Your discernment will sharpen when you humble yourself to wisdom from others. This is how heaven multiplies insight. Practicalize surrender. Surrender is not passive. It is a posture of active trust. I remember holding a map of my future too tightly, plans, expectations, timelines. One night I simply breathed and said, Lord, you direct my steps. That surrender did not remove responsibility. It removed anxiety from my doing. The next morning, an unexpected lead appeared. Surrender opened my hands so heaven could place its key inside them. Practice saying 3 short declarative sentences each morning. I yield, I steward, I give. Say them until they settle in your bones. Honor the vocational change that comes with spiritual promotion. Your gifts will be retooled. You may be called to speak where you once listened or to listen where you once spoke. I had to learn to swap titles for assignments. The anointing asks for flexibility. If you sense a shift in how you are to serve, move with it. Do not interpret new responsibility as a loss of identity. It is your identity expanding to match your appointment. Protect your joy like a precious lantern. Joy is prophetic weather. In seasons of waiting, I treated joy like a commodity I could not afford. Later, I realized joy is a guardrail. When pressure comes, name it as ordination. This is preparation. This is pruning. Declare your heart's refusal to be consumed by fear. I would wake and remind myself this season prepared me. That small discipline preserved my joy and kept bitterness from germinating. Engage in focused intercession. The unsealing of your scroll often coincides with a surge in spiritual traffic angels, aligning doors, opening but also distractions and tests. In those days, I developed a simple practice, 20 minutes of focused intercession 3 times a week. Not for drama, but to align my request with heaven's intent. Pray for clarity, for divine appointments, and for the wisdom to use increase to bless others. Intercession keeps you partnered with heaven's purpose rather than entangled in human ambition. Learn to recognize heaven's tempo. There will be moments of sudden acceleration and seasons of sacred delay. The key is to respond in rhythm, not in panic. When you sense momentum, move with courage. When stillness returns, rest in the design. I misread tempo once and rushed into a project too soon. It stalled. Later, when I waited and prepared, what came was multiplied because it came at God's timing. Listen for the pace that your spirit confirms and titrate your steps to that beat. Build a small circle that is both honest and holy. Not many, but right. I discovered that empty applause can be dangerous. I needed a few who would cheer me, but also speak correction. Choose people who will protect your conscience and bless your calling. Protect them with gratitude and confidentiality. Their presence will anchor you when popularity whispers a different script. Finally, receive this prophetic declaration. What is emerging in you is not an accident. It is a crafted release. The sealed words written about you are unfolding like ink warming under the sun. Stand in a posture of readiness, not of frantic pursuit. Expect transformation in body, a restoration of health where it was taxed. In spirit, a sudden clarity and boldness. In circumstance, doors opening to restore and multiply what was once missing. This does not mean ease without exertion. It means that the exertion will be joined by heavenly accompaniment. My beloved, breathe these words into your bones. Allow them to steady the quickening inside you. Heaven's hand is gentle and sure. When the seal moves, it will place what you need in your hands at the right time. Keep your heart soft, your hands open, and your feet ready to step. Choose humility over hurry. Choose surrender over strategy when fear whispers. The unsealing is personal and public. It transforms you so you can transform others. Rest now in that promise and prepare to walk forward in holiness and courage. Chosen one. Listen close. What is happening around you is a reordering of destiny, not merely a rearrangement of circumstance. I say this from the place of someone who has watched doors collapse and then watched heaven build halls of purpose from the rubble. When I speak of loss, of lonely nights, of seasons that felt like the end, know immediately that pain was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. It was not rejection. It was heaven shaping a container able to hold the harvest that now leans toward you. You are being marked for a particular kind of authority, not loud, not showy, but precise and effective. I have seen this pattern. Heaven removes what is ornamental and leaves what is essential. The regimen of your refining will reveal what matters most. Begin now to simplify. Remove noise. Hold fewer pursuits. Let your spiritual bandwidth concentrate on what the Lord has placed inside you. The less you chase, the more heaven will place. I learned this the hard way. There was a season when I held every good idea like a lifeline. The result was scattered energy and stalled progress. When I chose fewer commitments, I found depth returned and doors opened with a clarity I had not known before. Train your eyes to see with prophetic clarity. The anointing that is arriving will sharpen your vision, not for spectacle, but for stewardship. You will begin to recognize the difference between what looks attractive and what is aligned. I used to mistake applause for confirmation. Not anymore. Now I test resonance by the peace that follows a decision. When heaven validates, your spirit will know. Learn that language. It will save you heartache and accelerate your path. Prepare for a refined community. The people who move with you into this season will be uncommon, not because they are flawless, but because their frequency matches your mission. I remember a small group that stayed faithful when no one else believed. They were a mirror and a net. Invest in those whose presence is sanctifying. Protect them with your humility. Be quick to offer grace. When favor arrives, the enemy will attempt to isolate you with flattery and distraction. Counter that with accountability and a few trusted voices who will speak truth even when it costs them comfort. Do practical things for spiritual outcomes. I keep a simple ledger of faithfulness, a small journal where I record every act of obedience, every moment I chose faith over fear. On days when the atmosphere feels heavy, I read it aloud and remind my spirit of the covenant that carried me through. This practice anchors hope. It reminds you that your life is a long story of small yeses. Keep a list of 3 recent mercies and read them each morning. You will find that gratitude changes the spiritual weather. Expect heavenly logistics to appear, the exact doors, the right people, the financial provision that arrives with uncanny timing. My increase once came through a conversation I almost skipped. I had let fear keep me from going, but I obeyed a small nudge to say yes. That single step unlocked a chain that provided the resources for a project that would bless thousands. Small acts of obedience in this season have incredible leverage. Be ready to say yes when peace accompanies the invitation and to say no when anxiety is the signal. Practice holy generosity now. The transfers you are marked for are tied to a heart that knows how to give. When I first experienced overflow, the voice in my head suggested I secure every blessing for myself. Instead, I chose to scatter seeds into places of need. Doors opened wider, blessings multiplied. Heaven rewards a heart that refuses to hoard. Steward what comes with an open palm and watch rivers form where once there was a trickle. When fear rises, name it as ordination. Fear will come as a companion. It will try to convince you that safety is the only wise posture. But fear, when rightly confessed, can be the signpost that you are on the verge of a holy expansion. Say aloud, this pressure is preparation. This delay was protection. Those words reframe the interior climate. I learned to counter anxious narratives with short confessions. They shift the neural pathways of doubt and open room for faith to breathe. Attend to your soul care with spiritual rigor. Prayer, silence, scripture, community. These are not optional in a season of unsealing. They are the infrastructure of your calling. I once neglected the quiet hours and found decisions became shallow and pride crept in. Recommit to daily sacred practices even when everything around you demands motion. Stillness is not retreat. It is strategic positioning. In the silence, heaven speaks instructions that your future will depend upon. Become fluent in prophetic patience. Kairos moves quickly, but often follows a period of precise waiting. Your waiting was not idle. It was the calibration of timing. Do not allow impatience to hijack promise. When doors open, move with clarity. When they remain closed, tend what is in front of you with excellence. I cultivated patient excellence, tending my gifts while trusting the timing, and that posture drew opportunity that could have been lost to rush. Finally, embrace the responsibility of influence. The unsealing is not indulgence, it is commissioning. Whatever comes, it is meant to flow through you to others. When restoration arrives, let it fund healing. When resources return, let them rebuild what was broken in others. Influence that is not applied toward restoration becomes a weight that will press you down. Choose instead to be a conductor of blessing. I learned to ask at every increase who will be healed if this comes. and I watch the answers appear. My beloved stands steady. The seal moves gently but with surety. You are being prepared to carry an inheritance that will not only honor your story, but will repair stories around you. Keep your hands open, your heart teachable, and your feet ready to go where heaven sends. The hour is sacred. Move in it with reverence and mercy. Chosen one. This season asks for practical faith made visible. The unsealing will not only shift spiritual currents, it will ask you to organize your life so heaven's movement has room to land. I will walk with you through the concrete things I learned the hard way, so your momentum is steady and holy. Begin by aligning your calendar to heaven's rhythm. I learned that when my schedule answered every demand of people and projects, heaven's invitations had nowhere to land. I made a choice to clear blocks of time for reverence, rest, and strategic listening. Reserve sacred windows mornings for quiet, 1 day a week for restoration, and a monthly accounting hour where you evaluate where your time is being spent. This is not legalism, it is stewardship. When I carved space for God in my calendar, the very conversations that used to require desperation arrived with ease. Set up simple financial guardrails. Stewardship is a language heaven understands. The first time increase came, I nearly spent it all on what felt deserved. Pain taught me to clutch. That pressure was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. It trained me to be wise. I had to learn budgets, tithes, and a giving plan. Create a basic map now, one account for necessity, one for mission, one for multiplication. When resources arrive, let them pass through a disciplined set of hands that already knows how to give. Build infrastructure for your new influence. If you are stepping into greater responsibility, your systems must grow. I botched early opportunities because my inbox and finances were disorganized. Simple things like a trusted accountant, a small legal review, and a clear contact system saved me from future headaches. These practical tenders are not secular distractions. They are spiritual logistics that allow your calling to scale with integrity. Keep a sacred counsel. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not walk this alone. My most costly mistakes happened when I tried to be everything to everyone. Find 2 or 3 people, a mentor, a prayerful peer, someone wise and honest who will speak truth into your life. When flattery sings, their voices will be the brakes. When doubt whispers, their prayers will be your wings. Protect these relationships with confidentiality and gratitude. Practice regular prophetic recalibration. Twice a year I sit down and ask 3 questions. Where did I see fruit? Where did I miss alignment? What is one bold obedience I must take next? This simple audit keeps momentum healthy and prevents drift. The Kairos hour is not a sprint without check-ins. It is a season of calibrated steps. Let evaluation, not ego, guide your next move. Tend to your emotional and relational health. Influence stretches hearts and exposes old fractures. When wounds appear, remember that ache is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. It shows where healing is needed so grace can expand. Pursue counseling, reconcile where necessary, and forgive generously. I had to learn humility the painful way after a public success. I lost a friendship because I wouldn't listen. I repented, reconciled, and the restored relationship became one of my greatest supports. Do this work now so you will carry influence graciously. Discerning true alignment from counterfeit momentum is essential. Not every open door is yours. I once accepted a fast-moving opportunity that glittered but was empty of peace. It nearly diverted my assignment. Use peace as your measuring rod. If a door opens with anxiety and compulsion, it is likely not from heaven. If a door opens with a quiet confirmation and a sense of permission, step through. Train your spirit to read the subtle signatures of God's invitations. Make room to celebrate small victories. Gratitude is not only spiritual posture, it is spiritual weather. I began keeping a gratitude file, emails, texts, small miracles that I read when pressure returned. Celebrate the tiny deliverances. They are evidence of the larger movement. When you name mercy, your heart stays tethered to wonder rather than entitlement. Prepare to steward influence publicly. As your sphere grows, words you speak will carry weight. Speak truth with tenderness. I had to relearn this after my message affected people I did not intend to wound. Influence without compassion becomes a tool for harm. Influence with humility becomes a force for healing. Let your declarations be seasoned and short, prophetic, not performative. Train your household to receive the season. If you live with family or in a close community, speak to them about shifts. I remember the strain my increased responsibility placed on relationships until I invited those closest to me into the vision. When your household understands the why, they become your first allies. Protect them with honest conversation, shared rhythms, and small gestures that say, "You matter." Anchor yourself in daily surrender practices. Each morning I say 3 short declarations: I yield, I steward, I bless. These are not empty words. They recalibrate my heart to heaven's economy before the day's noise arrives. Develop a micro-rhythm that returns your spirit to surrender when stress tries to steal your posture. Expect tests that prove the transfer. The same pressure that once shaped you may return, but now it will test your response. That pressure is preparation, protection, pruning, alignment. It is the refining machine calibrating your heart for longer stewardship. When tests come, choose obedience over explanation. Let your yes be faithful in small things and watch how larger doors respond. Finally, keep the mission bigger than your comfort. This unsealing is not primarily for your elevation, but for the repair of what is broken around you. Whenever I received blessing, I asked, who will be restored if this comes? Let that question govern your choices. When blessing arrives, let it flow through you to those in need. Your life is the bridge between heaven's promise and human need. My beloved, these practical steps will help heaven's unsealing land with order and grace in your life. Take them slowly, implement one at a time. Keep your hands open, your heart humble, and your feet steady. The hour is holy, and heaven is arranging everything for your faithful stewardship. Chosen one, know this: as heaven unseals your scroll, the spiritual climate will change around you. With increase comes opposition, not as punishment, but as proof that heaven is rearranging forces on your behalf. When attacks arrive, name them for what they are: pressure that is preparation, pruning that clarifies protection, that tests what will hold. The enemy will mimic blessing, confuse your path, and attempt to reopen old wounds. Do not be surprised. Be prepared. I have stood in that valley. I have felt the night that stretched long enough to whisper lies. Each time I learned to answer quickly, not in panic, but in proclamation. First, practice the posture of authority. You are not a passive observer in this hour. You are anointed and appointed. When fear comes, speak. Short, bold declarations shift the realm. I am sealed. I am covered. I steward what heaven entrusts. Say them aloud until your spirit stops arguing and begins to stand. Words are not mere noise. They are the tools of creation placed in your hands. I learned this after many small moments of silence where anxiety grew teeth. Once I began to declare the truth of my calling, the atmosphere changed. Angels move where words create a corridor. Build simple defensive rituals. They are not superstition, they are spiritual discipline. A short morning declaration, a 15-minute focused prayer before bed, and a weekly time of fasting and listening create sanctified space around your life. When pressure rises, do not engage in frantic fight. Stop, name the pressure as preparation, and re-anchor in one of your rituals. In my life, a 10-minute evening surrender practice became the hinge that kept me from reactive choices. I would say this pressure is alignment, not punishment, and watch clarity return. Use your history as a filter. The wounds you have lived through were not wasted. They became sensitive instruments to discern counterfeit from covenant. I once walked toward an opportunity that glittered only to feel something inside my chest tighten a leftover ache that had taught me caution. I paused, prayed, and the timing shifted. That pause saved a ministry and protected a reputation. Let your scars be holy markers, not chains. They will tell you where to be brave and where to refrain. Engage your team. You were not designed to single-handedly bear every shadow of warfare. When attacks increase, lean on your circle, not many, but right. I have had nights where the only prayer that steadied me was a short voice from a faithful friend who simply said, "I am with you." Build those allies now. Name them, protect them, and allow them to speak courage into you when your voice trembles. Learn the art of quick worship. In the first minutes of an assault, I found myself singing a simple truth. Worship is a weapon that displaces fear. When your heart is under pressure, a song, a thankful sentence, a remembered mercy will reset your spirit. I used to wait until the storm passed to sing. Later, I learned to sing in the storm and watch heaven rearrange the winds. Refuse to rehearse loss. The mind will try to script the worst. Counter that with memory. Keep a list of recent mercies and the small confirmations you have received. Read them when anxiety begins to narrate. These memories are not nostalgia, they are evidence. I made a practice of reading my ledger of faithfulness every morning, and it retuned my sense of reality. The things you remember will inform the way you respond. Prepare for spiritual logistics, not only armor, but assignments. Angels accompany unsealing, but they require invitation through faith and obedience. I have seen heaven send opportunity wrapped in people, a call, a message, a meeting. When these arrive, respond with clarity. Quick faith in small things often unlocks larger corridors. The training ground for that response is in your daily obedience. Small acts become keys for big doors. Know when to engage and when to withdraw. Not every battle is yours to fight. Some disturbances are distractions designed to derail your season. I wasted energy on fights that were not mine and learned to conserve my spiritual strength for what truly mattered. Ask, will this advance the mission or simply satisfy a wounded ego? If it is the latter, release it. Your choice to step back can be more strategic than any confrontation. Be vigilant about subtle corruption of motive. The first whisper after blessing is often, "What can this do for me?" Counter that with a daily reminder of purpose, your increase is for restoration, not reputation. I had to relearn humility the hard way. Rising favor once tempted me toward self-interest until a quiet conviction redirected me toward generosity. Keep asking, who will be blessed by what I receive? Let that question govern your allocation of time, money, and attention. Cultivate prophetic imagination. In the unsealing, heaven will give you images and dreams that sketch the future. Treat them as maps, not mandates. I began to record small visions and the people I saw in them. Months later, those same faces became partners. When you receive an impression, steward it, write it, pray over it, and ask for tangible next steps. Imagination is how heaven shows you the contour of things to come. Practice quick repentance. Pride and anger will attempt to gain footholds when authority grows. When you sense a hardness, move swiftly to humility. I learned to apologize fast and publicly when I had caused a wound. That practice preserved relationships and prevented small things from enlarging into scandals. Humility is the climate in which favor remains usable. Finally, stand assured protection is active and personal. The same hand that prepared you is now shielding you. Angels are aligning assignments with provision. When you feel the tug of opposition, say, I refuse this narrative. I receive heaven's ordering. Keep your feet ready, your hands open, and your heart soft. You are not being thrust into power for ego. You are being entrusted to heal and to build. The pressure you feel is not a collapse. It is confirmation that a significant unsealing is underway. My beloved, lean into these practices. They will not remove challenge, but they will teach you how to move through it with grace. Breathe, declare, worship, and steward. Heaven is close, and as you stand firm, you will see what was hidden become a conduit of blessing for many. Chosen one, hear me. What comes through this unsealing is not merely personal blessing, it is legacy. I speak to you as one who has watched small obediences become rivers that carved new valleys. The favor visiting you is a seed meant to grow into generations. So receive this with reverence. Every pressure you felt was preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not punishment. Those seasons trained you to carry a weight that would bless others, not burden them. First, decide now that your increase will be multiplied, not monopolized. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I received a sudden open door, and for a season, I guarded it like an item of scarcity. I treated each resource as if there were only enough for me. What I mistook for stewardship was fear. Pain had taught me to clutch. That clutching nearly choked the blessing. When I chose to release resources, time, knowledge, finances into a few trusted people, God multiplied what was given. The harvest was larger than the hoarded portion. Choose generosity as your default posture. Create structures for multiplication. Legacy without systems becomes memory, not movement. Begin with 3 practical things: a mentorship rhythm, a small fund for apprenticeship, and a set of documented processes for your gifting. Mentorship rhythm means regular scheduled time to pour into emerging leaders. I started with 30 minutes twice a month, and those small meetings birthed leaders who now lead ministries and businesses. A small fund, even modest, allows you to seed projects without paralysis. Documentation is simple. Write down how you do what you do. Your methods will become maps for others when you cannot be present. Teach people to fish rather than feeding them only once. When the unsealing gifts you influence, your capacity to build systems will be tested. I remember the first person I promoted who did not need me to micromanage. I had trained them to think like a builder. That multiplication created more space for creativity and greater impact. Invest in training materials, simple checklists, and a short course from your lived experience. Your testimony is curriculum. Entrust responsibility with measured release. The impulse to keep control is strong when you fought to get here, but authority that is distributed becomes durable. Start by delegating one meaningful task and one financial decision to a trusted person. Teach them the values behind the task, then let go. The first time I released a major relationship to a young leader, fear said no. I let go. They surprised me with faithfulness and innovation. Your release will produce new leaders who carry your values into places you cannot go. Prepare legal and financial stewardship now. Legacy without structure can become contested. Simple things like a written mission statement, basic legal counsel, and a transparent financial plan protect what heaven entrusts you with. I once watched a fruitful ministry stumble because paperwork was ignored. Make small, wise choices a non-profit structure if your calling requires it, a trustee or fiscal steward if resources multiply, a will that reflects your convictions. These are not worldly anxieties, they are practical holiness. Model humility publicly. Influence becomes corruptible when left unchecked. Make a practice of naming where you came from and who helped you. I still tell the story of nights when I had no answers and a single friend prayed with me. Naming those seasons keeps your authority tethered to mercy. Let your platform always point to the source and to those who journeyed with you. Your credibility will deepen when people see a leader who remembers the furnace. Invest in the next generation intentionally. The unsealing won't be fully realized unless you raise those who will carry it forward. Create apprenticeships, internships, or scholarships. I set aside a small portion of my increase specifically for young leaders, and the returns have been spiritual and practical. Their fresh courage combined with your hard-earned wisdom is a multiplier. Teach them to fail well and to steward what is given. Protect against entitlement by cultivating a culture of service. As doors open, require service as a currency for access. Ask those you mentor to spend time serving in small, humbling places before they take leadership. I asked each of my first mentees to serve 1 month in a local shelter. That month shaped their hearts more than any manual I could have written. Service tempers ambition and ingrains compassion. Record testimony not for applause, but for instruction. Keep a living archive, short videos, notes, a journal of what happened, the prayers that were answered, the mistakes that taught you humility. When seasons shift and memory fades, your archive will guide those who follow. I have gone back to my own archives in confusing seasons and found reassurance and direction. These records become a kind of prophetic roadmap for your successors. Practice exit strategies. Legacy requires generosity in leaving. Sometimes the highest form of faithfulness is to step aside so a new season can begin. I had to step back from a role I loved so someone else could bring a different gift. It was painful, but it multiplied the work. Plan transitions, thoughtfully mentor a successor, set time for overlap, and bless the new bearer. Your willingness to let go will be one of the greatest gifts you can give. Finally, declare this over your life now with a prophetic, humble word. I receive the unsealing. I steward with open hands. I multiply with wisdom and mercy. Say it aloud. Anchor it with small acts. Sponsor a person. Write a guide document, a process, and watch heaven assemble the rest. The unsealing you feel is designed to repair and to restore beyond your name. You are not being lifted for vanity. You are being sent to heal what was broken in others. My beloved legacy asks for patience wrapped in action. Take these practical steps and let your life become a corridor through which heaven flows for many generations. Keep your roots deep, your hands open, and your eyes fixed on the purpose that birthed you. Chosen one, lean in. This final hour of our time together is practical holiness shaped into action. What you have heard is not mere rhetoric. It is a summons to live differently, to embody the unsealing you carry. Hear me as one who has stumbled, learned, and been taught by seasons I once called failure. I know the shame of missteps and the grace that reorders them into purpose. I tell you plainly, the very things that bent you were blessings in disguise, preparation, protection, pruning, alignment, not punishment. Those hard nights polished you so light could finally pass through. Begin with a small, immediate covenant with heaven. Today, write one clear sentence that declares your assignment. Keep it under 10 words. I did this when clarity felt distant. I wrote, "I steward restoration for the lost." That short statement became a lighthouse for every decision that followed. Your sentence will act as a filter. When offers come, run them by this line. If they don't serve the assignment, you will know to let them pass. Next, choose 3 small acts that demonstrate trust. Give a modest gift without expectation. Forgive someone who still occupies your interior, and speak a short prophetic sentence over your own life. I receive the unsealing. I steward with mercy. When you give, you break the clutch of fear that pain once taught you. When you forgive, you unbind the channels of blessing that delay would otherwise clog. When you declare, you align your speech with the heavens that are already working on your behalf. Create one sacred boundary. A boundary is not coldness. It is a container for what matters. Choose one thing to remove a commitment, a relationship, an activity that drains spiritual bandwidth. I remember the exact moment I removed a ministry that kept me busy but spiritually empty. In its place came a calling that required my whole heart. That removal was not rejection. It was redirection, protection, and pruning so the new could root. Reinforce accountability now. Name 2 people who will speak truth into your life and tell them you are entering a season of stewardship. Ask them to pray for your humility and to tell you when applause begins to sound like direction. I have lived by a small council of faithful voices. Their correction saved me from many detours. Choose companions who are both gentle and honest friends, who will bless your calling and correct your pride. Tend to your body and soul with practical rituals. Set one morning rhythm that anchors you: 5 minutes of silence, 3 minutes of gratitude aloud, 1 sentence of prophetic declaration. These micro-rhythms are powerful. In the busiest seasons, I returned to this practice and found clarity returned like rain after drought. The body must be honored. When you care for it, your spirit can carry more without burning out. Start a giving practice that is public and private. Public generosity builds trust in your community. Private giving trains your heart away from reputation. I began by tithing a small percent of every surprise increase before I spent a penny. That discipline rewired my expectations and invited multiplication. When blessing finds you, be deliberate about who and how you bless. Choose restoration over reward. Record a short testimony tonight. 20 lines, simple truth. The moment I started keeping a testimony file, my faith was strengthened on days anxiety tried to narrate my future. Your testimony is not vanity, it is evidence. Read it aloud when fear speaks loudly, and remember what happened before can happen again, because the same God who moved then is moving now. Plan one mentoring conversation this month. Offer 30 minutes to someone younger in your field. Teaching is how legacy materializes. I mentored a young leader for half an hour each month and watched them grow into a leader who multiplied beyond my reach. Your story, handed down with humility, becomes a platform for multiplication. Prepare spiritual logistics. Name one practical safeguard: a legal advisor, a simple will, a financial steward, or a prayer partner. These are not worldly anxieties, but stewardship choices. When my favor expanded, my failure to protect what came made the blessing temporary. Do not repeat that error. Solidify one structural step this season. Watch for the signs of heaven, but do not be ruled by them. A repeated number, a confirming conversation, a dream. These are compass points, not tickets. I learned to let confirmations anchor movement rather than mandate it. Keep obedience as your primary indicator. When opposition rises, and it will respond quickly with worship, not argument. Short, declarative worship sentences change the climate. I found that 10 seconds of naming God's character in the midst of attack calmed my heart faster than any explanation. Your anthem can be a phrase: you ordain my steps. I receive your ordering. Repeat it until your spirit steadies. Finally live with expectancy and tenderness. The unsealing you carry is sacred. Steward it with reverence. Celebrate small mercies. Bless those who have nothing to offer you. Protect the weak and teach the willing. Legacy is not built in grandeur, but in consistent, humble acts of service. Chosen one. Anointed one, receive this as a present from heaven. Your scroll is opening. Let your life answer with surrender, generosity, and steadiness. I stand with you in this hour as both witness and companion. Move forward in faith, my beloved, and let heaven's rhythm write the next lines of your story. Chosen one, my beloved, I speak this as one who has watched heaven rewrite destinies. Your sealed prophecy is opening, your hidden scroll is being revealed, and you are standing in your exact Kairos moment on heaven's clock. I pronounce blessing over your body, restoration over your spirit, and provision over your path. Receive this confirmation. Heaven's hand moves for you now. Remain faithful, stay aligned with the flow of the anointing, and walk forward with humble courage and grateful expectancy. If this word stirred, you leave a simple "I receive" below and share, so another chosen heart may awaken. Go in peace and power, anointed one.